So everybody, hey, let's just go around the table and share our favorite or some kind of memory that we have about Opa Fu. You know, I'll start us off. I just remember Opa Fu to be always wanting to include people. Like I remember, like we would be like at a Chinese restaurant or something, and he would just strike up conversation with the waitress or waiter, and he'd say like, oh, where are you from? You know, of course he'd be speaking Chinese, and then the waiter would say, oh, I'm from such and such a place, and then Opa Fu would say, oh, you know, your city is actually was the industrial capital of that region, you know, in 1800, you know, and he would just start kind of talking about this, and of course the waiter didn't realize that, and it was just his way of connecting with people, and he was, he'd say, oh, I was also from that area, you know, oh, we have the same, you know, this or that, and I just thought that was a really neat thing because, the person would feel valued and included, and Opa Fu was always trying to seek that bridge, so
I think you do that too.
yeah, actually that's something that I'm an introvert, and so it doesn't come naturally to me, but I remember just watching him do that so many times that's something that I try to do now.
Yeah, last night when we went to dinner, we're at this Thai restaurant, he was asking that, oh, so are you the owner? And he just, Dad just tried to strike up conversation with them, and it really does make a person feel seen and valued, and Uncle Fu was really good about that. Yeah, he did. You could tell he genuinely cared, and he had such a heart to encourage, so that was something that was really special.
I'll go next. I always remembered when we would go to family reunions or whatever, he would greet us with he would hold our faces and kiss us on the cheek or whatever. Or when we would see him at first and then when we were leaving.
That's a nice memory.
Also remember his ring or his voicemail. Fu Cheng, John Fu.
Yeah, every time we would call.
I always remember that.
Yeah, that will be in our memory bank.
And he always had his camera.
Oh,
In his
Uncle Fu
pocket.
always. I think Uncle Fu is the only person who takes more pictures than me.
Yeah.
I mean, can you think of anybody who
No.
takes more pictures than me?
And I think you learned how to take pictures.
Taking
You
taking
mimicked.
multiple.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
take
yeah.
another one. Take another one.
Whoa. Yeah, Uncle Fu.
Last
we
one.
had-
He said last one 5 times.
Right. Yeah, we had a very, the key to getting good pictures is take a lot of them, right? Why take only one picture?
Right.
You
Take
have
two.
more chances.
You know?
Especially with digital. I mean, then
Right.
he really was like,
Oh yeah.
why not?
Yeah, so Uncle Fu and I, we definitely understood that principle. Take more. Why not?
Yeah. That one you have in common with him. And you're kind of almost, in many ways, there's definitely a mini.
When Eliana gets does her gymnastics thing, and then Opa Fu goes, oh.
Oh yeah.
When Eliana does like a flip or something, that's just like that.
Yeah. That does that same thing. Oh, there was something else yesterday. Dad did this sigh, and it sounded just like Opa Fu. He's picked up on a lot of, I think, Opa Fu's mannerisms one way or another. It's like, or something. There's something.
I think it's like, something.
That does sound like him.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think there's definitely, I definitely have a lot of similarities
You do.
to Uncle Fu. Like, so taking the pictures is one.
Being very like
The
conscious.
sign.
Concerned.
Oh yeah,
Concerned.
like for instance, so Eliana, do you want to tell the thing about you're doing gymnastics in the living room? What happened?
Oh, just whenever I do anything, you're like, oh, is her neck gonna be okay? But even when I'm doing a basic skill, it's okay.
But what would Opa Fu do? Do you remember?
When you would do it for him.
When
And
you
when
would
you
do it,
did
would you
your
do a flip?
contortion rolls,
Oh no, yeah,
with
you
your
would
back.
do the same thing.
What
I
did you
think,
say?
I think he would go like this. Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
That's what Isaiah said before.
Oh,
I just said
oh.
Daddy said that.
And then his
I know, I just like doing it.
and Dad's love for discounts, like
Oh,
buying
yeah.
in bulk if it's discounted. I think is another.
Yeah, and having a difficult time throwing it away afterwards. Thank God we both married women who knew how to dispose
Clean
of
up.
things appropriately.
Minimalists.
Yeah, without, of course, the husband knowing.
Yeah.
I like the story that Auntie Renata told about how, did Uncle Fu have an old car or something that he just kind of kept in the yard, and Auntie Renata kept on saying, Uncle Fu, you got to do something with this, and or else I will. And Uncle Fu, I don't think did. And then what did she do? She had it buried or something like
No,
that.
did
It
she
was
just call, listed in the
something? It was
newspaper and
I felt like she
some guy just came over
buried or
and towed
something
it away?
like that.
I don't know.
I mean, she had told him several times.
Yeah,
so.
she gave him fair warning.
Yeah. So I try to use that same tactic sometimes.
I don't have any cars.
I know.
But your CDs all stored.
Books.
Oh, thanks, Ezra.
Books.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks,
A lot
guys.
of books.
I do have a lot of books.
And those language CD, like with tapes. What are they, audio tapes?
Yeah.
Like the
Yeah, you
lines.
got some good use out of them.
No, if Dad has like a good box or something, he doesn't need it
Oh,
really, but he doesn't
yeah.
want to throw it away. So it's like,
Yeah.
does anyone want this box?
Yeah.
And he sells it to you.
It's like,
I don't know if Uncle Fu would do that, but he's really generous. Yeah. But I know that Grandpa just really, really appreciated Uncle Fu and his friendship. I mean,
Yeah,
he
they
would
always
often
talk,
talk
so.
about Uncle Fu and just what a great guy he was. He was such a good, just a good friend. Yeah.
and me too.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. They always thought so high
And
of
he
you.
loved Nini's kimchi.
Yes.
And
Anytime,
food.
I know, anytime Nini would make something, she'd always say, when's Uncle Fu coming?
She would always say like, oh, Uncle Fu would love this.
Yeah.
Yes.
What's the
When
thing
she
that I would
makes
always
a-
say when
Oh,
Grandma
anytime
was-
Grandma would make
had
something.
some good food?
Opa Fu.
Oh, I wish Opa Fu
Oh,
was
Opa Fu,
here.
yeah.
Yeah, you always say, I wish Uncle Fu was here to try this.
Yes,
I
you
wish
say
Opa-
that every time.
Because I knew that he would love it.
Yeah.
Because it was Opa Fu would always remind that, hey, you know what? I'm from the Northeast province, Liaoning area. That's right on the border of Korea. So, we always had,
Curry.
Korean style food, and then he would kind of connect with Grandpa that way.
Yeah.
Cause
And that
Grandpa's
was-
from up there.
Yeah, and that was his way, that was Opa Fu's way of just kind of making that connection,
Yeah.
Always trying to make that other person feel, like, hey, we've got some connection here. And
Mhm.
so that's a really good trait.
Yeah.
And I think we'll always remember him for his generosity too. He was always so generous. And just Opa Fu and Auntie Renata both, anytime they come down, it was like Christmas for you guys. Every time they came, they
Yeah.
always had some fun gift or,
Craft.
crafts. I mean, something
Puzzle.
neat, just something, it wasn't just kind of like floofy stuff. It was stuff that,
Oh, yeah.
You could do
I
something in
remember-
an activity. It was always so neat. I really
Pineapples
appreciate
and-
about that.
And mangoes and grapes.
Oh
and cherries.
yes, and especially from the Asian stores, like the Asian foods,
Oh,
they
yeah.
always bring something.
Yeah.
Appreciate that.
And I remember Auntie Renata at that time that Jen was like a curtain or something
Yeah.
that she had
Let's
kids
draw on
paint
them.
or something.
Oh, we
like
got
that.
to draw on them.
Yeah.
And then
So
she used it for
neat.
her garage.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What a great idea.
That was such a neat idea. You know who actually took that idea? Though unbeknownst to the person or Auntie Renata, Angelina Jolie had her kids draw on her wedding dress. It was the same concept. So I'm like, that must have been from Auntie Renata.
Yeah.
She's an actress. But anyway. Ezra, do you have anything to say?
I remember there was this one time, and Opa Fu was telling stories, and he just looked at me and put me on his lap and continued telling the stories, and I remember that was really nice.
Oh, that's a
That's
neat.
so sweet.
That's so cool. Yeah.
The special mom.
He was a good storyteller. I always loved his story about his roommate at at the University of Minnesota.
Tashi Khan.
Tashi Khan.
A Korean guy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And he always had kimchi in the refrigerator that stunk up the apartment.
so the story about Tashi
Kimchi
Khan.
has a distinct smell.
Yeah.
It's not really nice to have like when you're trying to sleep, you know?
Yeah. It tastes good, but doesn't always smell good. Yeah.
So yeah, Uncle Fu told the story a few times, so I remember it. Because usually I need to hear something at least a few times to remember something. But so Tashi Khan was his roommate, and he was a sociology major or something. But he was able to do his PhD because he studied like how many people switched to an American name. Like he
Or
was
kind of
Tashi
why?
Khan, but he became Jerry Khan. And so yeah, Uncle Fu would like, you know, I tell the story. And
Yeah, I got his
he
PhD
got
with
his
that.
PhD with that. He was able to. But yeah, Uncle Fu was a great storyteller. He just
Mhm.
knew. Like I can't do that. I can't
Yeah, he
remember
could make it
stories
really
or
fun.
details or. And
Yeah, it was very like entrancing.
Yeah.
I mean, I relied on Uncle Fu to fill me in on things about my mother.
Yeah.
Like I just didn't know or I didn't remember. But like another thing that I really appreciated about Opa Fu was, like for instance, when he was talking about my mother, you know, he'd be, you know, oh Susan, you know, did this and, you know, and then he'd start breaking down and crying, and it just really showed you that he, like
Showed you his heart.
you know, I've got 3 uncles. I don't think I've ever seen Uncle Wei cry. I've never seen Uncle Ning cry, but I've seen Opa Fu cry many times, and I think that was just a reflection of his heart, and he just really, you know,
He
just
felt
an
deeply.
emotional person, and so
Appreciate
I
that a
really
lot.
appreciate that about him. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, I know. I think I learned a lot about Mama through his stories too.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah, for sure.
stories that he would tell. So
Hmm.
he'd be very, very missed.
What'd you say, Ezra?
I miss him a lot.
Yeah.
I miss him too.
But these great memories will live on. We'll carry them with us, and he's definitely touched each and one of our lives, all for the better.
Yeah. Hmm. So I remember when Mommy and I were first, you know, starting our relationship. And when did you first meet Uncle Fu?
Graduation,
The ceremony?
probably.
No,
Yeah.
really?
Yeah, I think so.
I just remember that Opa Fu really just hit it off with you. I mean, I
I
was
hit it
so
off
happy.
with him.
Yeah, I mean, both of you just really, he really appreciated you, and you appreciated him, and I just, you know, and I remember, hey, Christine,
Yeah.
you know, he'd be kind of,
Love our joking around.
yeah,
It
joking
was so
around
fun.
with you, like, hey, Christine, tell me later about Timmy. Something, he'd say
Yeah.
things like that, or, like, hey,
And I'd be like, yeah, I will.
hey, Christine, I'll tell you about Timmy.
Yeah.
Just things like that.
Right.
And then just even how when he met Grandpa for the first time, and just he's like, hey Paul, hey, you're from Korea? Oh, hey, I'm from the Northeast, you know, and then the whole thing, and just connected with Grandpa, and Grandpa just really
Liked him so
just
much.
really loved Uncle Fu as a true friend, and I just really thought that was neat. Every time we'd get together, you know, you'd see Grandpa and Opa Fu in the corner. and
Yeah,
they'd
they're just going
they're just
at it.
going back and
Yeah.
forth.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
That
So-
was fun.
because, you know, otherwise, like, I mean, I know that Grandpa and Grandma always felt very welcome when, you know,
Oh, yeah.
when Opa Fu and Oma Muka were there. Because, you know, it'd be like, you know, Grandpa would be so excited to.
Yeah, I mean, they wouldn't really. Grandma and Grandpa would not go
Yeah,
to
they wouldn't.
anybody else's house like that, but
Right.
they'd be like, oh, Auntie Renata and Uncle Fu are gonna be there. Okay,
Oh, yeah.
we'll
Oh,
go.
We'll be there. Yeah. So,
So that was really kind of a neat thing.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I loved it when he would call just with his medical questions, you know.
Mm.
Always be like, what is Achilles? Because he kept on having chronic issues with that, or his allergies, you know. And I think it was just his way of reaching out to call and just connect.
Mm.
So that was really nice.
So even though you had told him a few times about his Achilles tendon, he would call back.
Yeah, but I didn't mind. You know, it was nice.
Yeah. I wish I would have recognized that more. That was probably the reason he was calling. Was he wanted just to kind of connect.
I remember one story that he told us when I was pretty young, I think, like around Ezra's age probably, when he was telling us about like when he was running away from the war when he was a kid, and his family was like, they were starving, all the time, and then when he had his first bite of rice after like a really long time or something, and he said like it was the best thing he ever tasted, and then he like started tearing up and choking up when he said that, and it just made me really like, it taught me like a lesson just to always be thankful for what I have, and so I'll always remember him for that.
Man. I remember when it must have been like your first birthday or something. You were in this like little Chinese blue uniform.
I remember that.
So,
I
yeah.
think all you
You're
kids
so-
wore for their
Oh,
first
okay.
birthday, their little
Oh.
Chinese outfit.
It's a dark,
They
They're
Dark
dark
blue,
blue, like
yeah.
that's so.
Yeah.
and it had like the little patterns on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It did have the red
It
button.
had,
We,
Yeah.
we bought that in LA Chinatown.
Yes, we did when you came out to
Yeah.
visit.
Yeah. But anyways, so this was in our White House in Ramsey, and Opa Fu was there, and he was, of course wanted to kind of make a connection with Isaiah, and so but Isaiah was kind of like just kind of
Toddling
wobbling
around.
around or whatever, and Opa Fu was a stranger at that point, but then there was this, we had party balloons and stuff. There was a balloon, on the ceiling or something like that, and so Isaiah comes waddling in and comes over to Opa Fu, and he's like, oh, like this, and Opa Fu was so excited. He's like, oh, he wants me to hold him. Oh, so okay, so then Isaiah went like this, and then Opa Fu picked him up, and as soon as he picked Isaiah up, Isaiah turned around and pointed at the balloon, and was like, He just wanted Opa Fu to just like, he was just using the little hand as a ladder. And when Opa Fu thought that was the funniest thing, he was just like, oh, he doesn't care about me, he just wants the balloon. And he was going on about the virtues of wow, what a smart kid. He was like appealing to my emotion to pick him up, but he just wanted the balloon. He kept going on and on about that. It was really good natured.
Yeah, you always know how to joke around.
Yeah.
Good memories.
How did that make you feel when Opa Fu had you sit in his lap, Ezra?
That felt good. Felt like, yeah. It was nice.
Make you feel special?
Yeah.
Yeah, I bet it did.
He's a lot like our grandpa on your side with him.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was your grandpa.
was. I mean, so when my mom died, I was 22 years old. It was 1989, and I was in my 4th or 5th year of college at this point. And, college students, when you are on holiday break, right? You need to go somewhere, and so, I mean, basically, Omamuka and Opa Fu became like my mom and dad to me, and Claudia and Kai, even though they're my cousins, they kind of like became brother and sister. That was like my new family because I didn't have a family at that point. My mom had just died. My father I hadn't seen in a few years, and so that their house in Huntington out in Long Island, that was like my home, and they just took me in, and so I holidays I go there and talk to them on the phone, and Opa Fu, I'm very thankful to him because he took that responsibility of being kind of like my surrogate dad now in a way. And, he really took that to heart, and he took care of a lot of my financial stuff. That's for sure. He was a stockbroker before, and so he was well versed in finances, and so he handled even all those things up until just even very recently. So like my mom had left money, and I didn't know how to do any of those things, and so I'm thankful that he spent a lot of time.
Right, and how much Auntie Renata did, like she's the one who took you around and
Oh yeah.
to find apartments or what is it, cars or
Yeah,
something.
yeah.
And
That was right after I'd come back from Africa, from Peace Corps. Actually, this was a few years later, and I hadn't had milk for 2 years. And so we were in the car. Auntie Renata was driving me around. We were shopping for cars, and I don't know why I had such terrible gas. It was terrible.
Well, because your body was used to the milk.
But yeah, it was the lactose intolerance that I was just developing. And Auntie Renata wasn't afraid to tell me that. Sure. Oh, Timothy. Oh.
some things
Oh.
haven't changed, huh?
Yeah.
No, I've taken on that
You,
role.
you don't even need milk to
Yeah.
do that
I
anymore.
should like should roll down the window. Timothy. Oh. Opa Fu wasn't there at the time, but yeah, that's
Oh.
so poor Auntie Renata. Yeah. But yeah, I had a lot of good memories
Me too.
with those Christmases in Long Island.
I remember I got to go to one of
Yeah,
those.
Mommy
That was really
came.
fun. It was a fun time out in New York City.
Oh yeah, those are some of my favorite memories. Is Opa Fu and Omamuka taking me around, taking
You
us
still
around
talk
in
about
New York
that
City.
a lot.
That's why I love New York City so much.
Yeah,
Because
you have.
those times with them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
very, very nostalgic memories of
Yeah.
New York.
So
Yeah. Remember that Christmas? Was snowing outside. It was like this quintessential Christmas. They had the tree
At
and
Rockefeller Center?
well, no, I mean
Oh.
at their house.
Oh, at the-
Yeah, and Auntie Renata had the like a charcuterie, like the German, the
The meats?
deli meats
Oh,
or
yeah.
the meats and the
Cheese.
cheese and the bread out, and that would just kind of come in and out, and you kind of just almost munched all day long.
yeah,
It was so fun.
yeah. That's
That was
really,
neat.
really Christmas.
It was. It felt like
Environment.
very and then to go into New York and see New York City all lit up for
Yeah.
Christmas was so pretty.
Hot dogs on Christmas Eve. They're like a German style hot dogs.
Yeah.
That's the tradition. So yeah.
Good times.
So yeah. Opa Fu just really had a way with people. He was just
Something
a
I'll
real,
always remember him for.
yeah. Make people feel very comfortable and at ease, and yeah, it's a good role model.
For sure.
I'm glad you kids got to know him.
Mm-hmm.